everybody, and welcome back to the Girls with Guts podcast. I'm your host, Nicole D'Ambro.
And I'm Elena Martella.
And we're so happy to be back with you again this week. We've got an awesome guest for you today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to get into what we kind of went through this week. We both had experiences with doctors, but they were on the different sides of the spectrum. So Elena, why don't you get into that?
The exact different sides of the spectrum, Nicole. Yes, they were. So mine was great, I think, actually. So I think I told you in the first episode, in our introduction episode, about how one of the doctors, Dr. Park, who treated me when I was going through my illness, he said to me that in the entire puzzle of life, this is just a piece. So after we recorded that episode, I just got to thinking, like, where is Dr. Park now? So did a little internet sleuthing, as I'm known to do, because
we have that in common.
I'm a stalker. Just kidding. But so I did some internet sleuthing, tried to figure out where he was, and I saw that his name came up under the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, which is based here, obviously, in Cincinnati. And I asked one of my friends who works there, do you have a database that you could get me his email address or something? So I got the email address, and I sent this email, and it was like, hello, Dr. Park. If you're not the Dr. Park that worked at the hospital, in 2008, please disregard this episode. Or excuse me, not episode. What am I? I'm losing my mind here. Please disregard this email. And I'm like, if you are that Dr. Park, hello, I'm Elena Martella. You may or may not remember me. And then I went on to, explain how those words have lived on with me for the last 13 years and how I've shared them with others and how that those words seem to help others get through whatever problems they're dealing with. And so I sent that email, hit send, and I'm like, man, I hope it's really him. I hope, I get an answer. And within 24 hours, he responded, and it's him. And he's not here in Cincinnati, actually, right now. He is in Africa. And he's in East Africa right now.
Wow.
And he teaches surgeons he teaches people that live in Africa how to become surgeons. And it's this program that UC Health has, and I had never heard of the program before, and I think it's very cool. I would like to shed awareness on it through my day job, actually, because I don't think my dad didn't know about it. I told him, I told my mom, she didn't know about it. But yeah, it's just really cool. He remembered me. He said we stuck out to him through the years, and he's always wondered how I'm doing, so I updated him as well. And he said he actually comes back to Cincinnati twice a year for a couple weeks at a time. So the last email was me responding to that email. And I said, next time you're in Cincinnati, would love to just meet up with you. My mom wants to, too, to say thank you. And hopefully that happens.
Oh, yes. That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would. And actually, when I read the email, I got it, and I started to kind of tear up and started to cry. And I was at work when I saw it during cut-ins. And so a lot of times during cut-ins, we have a break, and it's when the Today Show's going on. And Randy, who does the weather in the mornings, I read it to her, and I started to tear up. And so it was a beautiful moment, and we were excited. And so yeah, that was awesome. But maybe we should have done mine second.
No.
Since good news should come after the bad.
Ooh.
Because yours.
Well, mine's not bad. Mine was, I feel like everybody who has a chronic illness or has an illness that they're trying to figure out what's going on, we all go through this. And it's, instead of having a doctor who's receptive to you from the get-go, you get a doctor who's a little bit more reserved. And what I mean by this is, I got so worked up to see this doctor. She's a specialist, and I was like, yes, female doctor. I've had really good luck with female doctors and really listening to me and helping me discover my problems. I mean, as you know, like Dr. Tofi is my hero. Like Dr. Tofi discovered my internal, or not my direct inguinal hernia that kind of gave us all the clues that like put together that I had an intestinal problem. Anyway, that's another thing. So I got so excited to see this doctor, and I was just like, I'm just going to answer her questions and let her put the puzzle pieces together. And what ended up happening was I walked into her office, and as soon as she looked at me, she was like, "Why did you make an appointment?" And I was like, "Oh no." And it was like, okay, well, you didn't get a referral from your primary, so why are you here? And the reason why I was there was I went to see a rheumatologist, which is a little left field, but we don't have any answers for what happened to me, just like you don't either. We don't know why my intestines started twisting, but I'm having all kinds of symptoms now that I never had before. And I have a lot of friends who are developing autoimmune diseases or are discovering their autoimmune diseases as they get worse in their adulthood. And so I wanted to go see her just to rule it out. I didn't go to her because I'm like, oh, I have an autoimmune disease. I need a diagnosis. I need a name for what I have. That's not it.
Mm-hmm.
But in my desperation, I guess, like to just connect with a doctor who will help me find answers or help me like rule stuff out, I came off differently to her. And she responded in a way where she was just like, I don't think you have anything. She gave me a physical exam. And she was just like, you look fine to me, and I don't think you have an autoimmune disease, so we're not going to run any tests. And at that point, I was just like shut down. There were comments that were made during the appointment where I was just like, yes, after I eat, and because this is true, I get anxious after I eat sometimes because the inflammation in my gut, like I could feel it. I could just feel it. And she told me that, she like stopped me and she was like, you can't feel inflammation. Excuse me, doctor. I was laying in bed for a year and a half of my life while my guts were inflaming and like while they were deflating, inflating. I'm pretty sure I can feel it. Like, I know my body,
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure, like, even if you have an inflamed foot or something's not right. You can
feel it.
feel that it's swelling up.
Yeah. So it's just like those kinds of comments make you feel really demeaned, as you're in the room. And because she's a doctor, you want to be polite, you want to be respectful. So I just fully shut down when people talk to me like that.
And I think it's interesting because you were going as a preventative measure, and that's February American Heart Month. People should do preventative measures so they don't get heart disease down the line.
Right.
So you were going for preventative measures. So maybe to see if you have an autoimmune disease, what can you do to maybe keep it from becoming such a thing?
Exactly.
So it's just kind of it's interesting.
It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
I mean, when I feel so defeated when I leave like that, because all of a sudden I get fired up and I'm like, why didn't I stick up for myself? Why didn't I say what I really meant, what I really wanted? Because all I really wanted was to run tests to rule it out. Right. And so I went home and I wrote her an email, and I just asked her, I was like, listen, I didn't look like my intestines were twisting. I didn't look like I had a massive infection that would put me in the hospital for 5 days and then cause a second and third surgery. I didn't look like my peritoneum had busted and all my guts were spilling out while I was in the hospital bed. I didn't look like all those things. I have a high pain threshold. I'm not a complainer. I've always been active. I don't look like I'm sick when I'm sick, and that's been the problem. So why don't we run tests to figure out, just to rule it out, leave no stone unturned. And she wrote back, she goes, I'm happy to run tests, but I really don't think you have a problem. Again. Thank you.
I'm always like, for me, I'm always just kind of like, I would rather do the tests to know for sure rather than, not know and then end up something happening out of nowhere.
Exactly.
That's my take on it, though. And I don't know, maybe call me a hypochondriac or a little nervous gal over here. My mom's name is Linda. And so she calls herself Nervous Ninny Linny. because that's how she is, and I got it from her. So I'm her little nervous ninny Linny Junior. Um,
I'm gonna
because
call you
I
that
would
now.
rather. Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, I would just rather know completely to rule it out, to not even have it in the back of my mind to worry about, because that's what we do when you are dealing with a chronic illness. You always have it in your head. What if I have blah blah blah? What if I
Hmm.
have blah 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 blah, so
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy I'm getting the test, but the big lesson here is that when you're working with a new doctor, you have to come in knowing what you want, knowing that if if they say something to you, like you have every right, like that is your time. You're not infringing on their time. You're paying them for their time. And just be direct, give them what you want. And if you can't do that, like me, call in backup. Even I know during COVID you can't bring in people into the appointments with you, but call your mom, your boyfriend, your husband, whomever's going to be like another backup for you, because
Yes.
it's only going to help. And if you shut down and you can't express yourself, they can.
I know I always, when I have new appointments during COVID, I've been calling my mom and putting it on speaker, having her join
Mhm.
in, or we FaceTime her, have her come in to the setting as well.
Yeah.
And just having that extra ear, because I don't know how to explain it. Like, I'm almost 30 years old, so it is a little weird to have, maybe it's weird to some people that my mom joins in on these, doctor appointments, but I truly feel that having her there and speaking for me to be like, yes, this is true. She's not making this up. I am her mother. I've witnessed it. Like, you know what I mean? It kind
Yeah.
of aids in that, we're not the boy who cried wolf, or in this case, the girls who cried wolf here. Like,
Yeah.
this is very real what's going on.
Exactly. So yeah, if
Yeah.
if you're going through it, we're with you. Like we all have our days, we all have
Mhm.
our hero doctors, we have our doctors that are a little more difficult, but it's all up to you to make sure you stand up for what you need, communicate it, and if you can't, to get help.
For sure. And you know what? I got to say, my primary care doctor, he's amazing. I've had him since, oh my gosh, I don't know when. Um, since I was in college, I think, or maybe high school, like about to go into college, I've had him. And he is such an advocate for me. He errs on the side of caution. He, goes to battle for me. And Dr. Costello, shout out to you. You're amazing.
Whoop, whoop.
And I just feel very blessed to have him as a doctor.
So, moving on to our guest today, we are so excited to be hosting Krista Deveau. She's a passionate inflammatory bowel disease and ostomate advocate. Krista, who is a kindergarten teacher in Alberta, Canada, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2001. Over the last 20 years, she's had multiple bowel resections and tried every medication to treat her illness with little to no relief. In April 2018, Krista had surgery to remove what was left of her diseased colon, and thus her stoma, or as she calls it, Stella, was born. These days, Krista is living and thriving with a temporary ileostomy, sharing her reality of her daily life on Instagram through her profile at my.gut.instinct. And even though her life with IBD and an ileostomy has been difficult, she maintains a bright, positive attitude and is grateful for the life that she's now able to lead. So, welcome, Krista. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are too, because you're like us. You're like cute and boppy, but Canadian.
Boppy. Oh my gosh, you just used the word boppy.
Boppy is one of my favorite words.
Oh, I love it. Yes, thank you so much for being here, Krista. We really appreciate you. How are you feeling today?
Today is actually a great day. I had my meds successfully done this morning, so I was like, okay, it's a good way to start my Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you just started these new meds, right?
Yes, yeah, I have.
So do you administer them through
Through
the stoma?
Yes, that's correct. So I've been doing that
That is
since about Christmas time. So it's
Oh,
interesting.
wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've been following you on it. It
what are the
is.
type of meds that you use that you put in?
So it's basically like a cortifoam. So it's like an enema type medication, but since I still have a rectum, but it's non-functioning, right? So I actually just have to put the medication through my stoma with a catheter,
Interesting.
through a catheter
That's
as well.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Since we should probably explain to all the people who don't really understand what a stoma is, what an ileostomy is. If you could just
yes.
give them kind of an idea of what that entails.
Yeah, for sure. So an ileostomy, that is where my small intestine is brought through my abdominal wall. And so I have a small part of my stoma is my small intestine that's poking out, and then I have a stoma bag that collects my waste. So instead of going to the bathroom like a normal person, I go to the bathroom in a bag.
And you've had this since 2018, right?
Yes, my stoma since 2018. Yeah.
Okay. Is this something that you're gonna do? Will you have to keep it forever? Is it temporary? What is how's that kind of
So
work?
it is temporary. We've kind of decided on a temporary because of my age when I had my surgery, and because I'd like to start a family. So kind of all these things kind of played a part into that decision. But honestly, I don't have any plans to reverse because my quality of life has been so much better since my surgery that I'm I'm hesitant to even just change it, because if it's working, I'd rather just keep it this way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can
So
you
what?
remind our viewers how old you are again? I know it's kind of
Yeah,
rude to ask that how old are you question, but for those who can't see you.
yeah. I'm 29, so I will be turning 30 this year. But I did have my ostomy in when I was 26, so 4 months actually before my wedding day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to do a little sidetrack here. When's your birthday? I'm turning 30 this year too.
September 19th.
Okay, so I'm March 13th, so I've got a few months on you. But
But you guys are
why don't you?
13th babies.
We are. We are
Get it?
91. Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody your story, Krista?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since you said like you had to, or it's improved your quality of life so much. Like, yeah, establish what it was before because
Yeah.
it
All
was rough, I
right.
know.
Well, I was diagnosed when I was a child. So I was only 9 years old when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So it's kind of been up and down since then with my bowel resections. When I was first diagnosed, I actually had a feeding tube for about 3.5 years. So going to school with
Wow.
like a feeding tube. When I was in junior high, my mom just learned how to take it out in the morning and then put it back in at night when I needed feeds. Um,
Okay.
so it's kind of been a journey, but where my quality of life was always manageable. It was always something I could manage, and I was still going to school, and I was still, having, sleepovers with my girlfriends and all of that. And then even when I was in junior high and high school, like playing sports and volleyball and all of that wasn't really affected. But it wasn't until basically 2015 I had my second bowel surgery, and I never really healed. I was constantly going to the bathroom like 20 plus times a day. The nausea was so debilitating. I was vomiting. Like I was going to school and having to wear a Depends every day, because even just the drive to work or even just teaching the kids, right? I just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
make it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the nausea. So I was teaching a lesson and then running out in the hallway with a garbage can to throw up and then going back to teach. So like
Wow.
it was very difficult, and other than leaving the house for work or to get groceries, that was basically the only time I was leaving the house, because my anxiety of, where's the washroom? Is there a washroom accessible? Will I be able to find it on time? And even if I had a Depends, it was still embarrassing and still humiliating to be, a grown woman having accidents every day.
Yeah.
So, I had that conversation with my GI, he sat me in his office and he said, there's not really anything else we can really do. Like we can experiment with different drugs and kind of, but I was like, how much longer are we going to do that? I had been hospitalized almost like from 2015 to 2018, like almost every year, and having to take leaves from work. So, it's like I'm ready to start, just living a normal-ish life where I
Yeah.
can, even just go hiking and go to the mountains, right? Or anything like that. So, and when we sat down in his office, it was about 5 months before our wedding day, and I said, like we're getting married, and I don't want to have to wear a Depends on my wedding day or worry about having an accident, right? In a white dress. I was like, that I
Right.
don't want that. I said, is surgery an option? And he, told me, well, surgery's an option if, you know, but it's going to be an ostomy. And I said, let's do it, because what else do we have to lose at this point? We've tried everything else, and at least if I've tried this, I know that I can cross it off that it worked or didn't
The
work.
list.
So it took a little bit of convincing, even from my surgeon, like the surgeon and stuff, because he's like, you're so young, I don't know, like, are you sure you want this? I said, well, it can't be worse than what I'm living right now, so let's just go for it. And then within a month of having that conversation and being hospitalized prior to my surgery, it happened. And I had my surgery on April 9th, 2018. It was on a Monday, and I was discharged home on Friday. Like
Wow.
I healed so quickly, and I was back to work within 6 weeks, in my classroom teaching kindergarten, like not overdoing it, but uh, completely changed my life basically from day one
Wow.
when I woke up.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is so, and you know what? That is very brave of you to do, because I've had an ileostomy as well. But mine has been reversed. Recently in May, I had an emergency surgery, and I actually feared getting one again. And like for you to say, I want one, that's very brave to do.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
also with like you being going through this at such a young age. I mean, and to say that you were playing sports while having all these problems too. It sounds like when you were on the feeding tube, like you weren't eating food because you couldn't digest the food, right?
Well, and that was the thing. I was like, when I was 9, I was about 50 pounds. Like, I was very underweight, very malnourished, and just everything caused me pain, right? So the feeding tube kind of gave my bowels a rest. So I wasn't eating anything orally for about 2 months. Like, we'd kind of do that on and off for 2 months, nothing, just like clear liquids, and then the tube feeds. And I gained a lot of weight right away. Like, I was feeling a lot more like myself with that feeding tube. And even I had the feeding tube prior to my ostomy surgery, and I think it really helped going into the surgery and kind of helping me heal as fast as I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have feeding tubes, but we both got TPN
Right.
intravenously to help our bowels rest when we were going through our surgery. So, I mean, we don't know about the only thing I've ever had to put in my nose was the thing that like sucks out your stomach acid.
The
Ugh,
NG
Oh,
the
tube.
NG
that's
Oh my
tube.
gosh.
the
That
worst.
thing,
It is the worst.
I can no to this day nobody can touch my nose other than me, because I have a thing with my nose now. And like I specifically remember one time I went in for just, I have bumps in the road still. I was just a little aside, Krista, right before we started recording, I was telling Nicole that, I think today I'm not feeling that great. um but I remember one time going to the emergency room and they stuck it down, but they went through my air pipe instead of down my stomach, because it's all
Yes.
connected. And I just started like, ugh, ugh, like it was
Oh my.
horrible.
Wow.
Ugh, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's
Worst nightmare.
cringe. I just remember the crunching sound of it going past my nose bones.
Oh,
That sound is like the thing of nightmares.
jeez.
Anyway,
So your
enough of
diet
that.
now, are you able to eat normally now?
I'm able to eat a lot more now. Before, like everything
Yeah.
caused me pain, so eating
What is normal?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but I have to be careful, obviously, with certain things like raw veggies and some fruits and nuts and all that type of stuff that can be harder to digest. But overall, I feel like I can eat a lot more and enjoy food again with my
That's
ostomy. Yeah.
awesome.
That's great. And then your medicine, does it help like the consistency so that, or like the inflammation so that you're able to digest that food better now too? Or,
So with the new medication that I'm actually doing now, that is to help. I guess I have some kind of stricture that's right past my ostomy. So we're kind of that medication's to help treat that. So
oh,
hopefully within time, it'll kind of maybe heal that area. But
relax.
yeah. But overall, like
I,
I don't have any other inflammation or anything anywhere else. It's just that area. So
that's killer. That's awesome. And no nausea?
Yeah.
some days, because that would cause me like if I'm in pain, it usually comes with nausea. But
Yeah,
um,
same.
it's manageable. So
That's
Do
great.
you experience pain often, or like how often would you say you experience it?
well, lately, like with this new situation going on, I've been having more pain, more in the evening, I find. But prior to like any of this, I was really having no pain. I was able to just, it was just I felt healthy and normal. Like,
Yeah.
I just had an ostomy and I could basically do everything else. So,
It's interesting that you say at nighttime, because that's kind of the same situation for me. Like I'll wake up feeling great,
yeah.
and then as the day goes on and I continue to consume more food, I
Hmm.
feel like everything just it's not every day. It's just it kind of there's no rhyme or reason. But some days in the evening, it's just kind of like oh,
Yeah.
like
And I think sometimes even
yeah.
just hard to digest, right? If you've been eating all day, like so many different factors, did I sleep well? Did I, am
Mm-hmm.
I, did I drink enough water today? All of those things. So,
It's a big one, yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Now, just if you can, give us a layout of a typical day, like do you call it an ostomy bag? Do you call it an ileostomy? Do you call it your stoma
Os-
bag?
I got an ostomy bag.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your ostomy bag. So what's a typical day with an ostomy bag, just for people who don't really understand?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I usually get up about 5:45 for work, and then depending if I need to do a bag change that day, I do a bag change, so I'll take off all of my appliance. I usually shower without a bag on to give my skin a break, and then on the days that I don't do a bag change, I'm doing my medication through my stoma. So I do all of those things before I consume coffee, anything to eat, because stoma can be messy. Um, and then after that, I get ready for work. I can actually enjoy coffee again with my ostomy. Prior prior to that, coffee
Was a no-no.
and yeah, big no-no. So I can enjoy my coffee, and I usually, I always try to get like a light breakfast in, smoothies. So on the run, it's easy to digest. Um, and then I'm leave for home for work around 7:30, and then I'm at work for 8, and then I welcome my students into my class around 8:30. But before I even get my students and all that, I make sure to empty my ostomy, because
So you have to do it during school.
yeah. So I always try to do it before. So right when I get to work, I'll empty, and then right before the kids arrive, I'll empty again. Um, not that it's full, but I just rather have nothing there. Just
Right.
because I'm moving around and we dance and we do a bunch of things. So I rather just have it flat. So I usually empty twice in the morning before the kids arrive, and then sometimes I have a mid morning break, so then I can empty again. Sometimes I don't. It's usually not a problem. but I only work half days, so I send off my kids at 11:30, and then the rest of the day is for myself, like for appointments, to come home, rest, because life with chronic illness, it's very unpredictable. And I actually made that decision back in 2015 from a hospital bed. I was in a really bad flare. My doctor said, you know, you're gonna you're gonna be in this hospital bed the longer you keep pushing yourself and keep, taking on everything. So that's when I decided part time was best for me. I've kind of made that work. So from usually 1 p.m. for the rest of the afternoon, it's either my treatments, therapy, or any kind of GI appointments or testing that needs to be done, blood work, all of that stuff. I leave for the afternoon, and then usually come evening, have a nice dinner, protein, try to have some veggies. I find with an ostomy, if I have some kind of protein, and I can also do salads, but it has to be like a good combo. It can't be like salad and then broccoli and all kinds of veggies, kind of balance it
Yeah.
out.
Same.
Yeah. And then usually just I relax at evening. I have like baths are my jam. So bath, you can take a bath with an ostomy. That was one of my first questions. And I'm usually in bed quite early. Sleep for me is important because throughout the night, I'm usually up at least twice to empty my bag. So if I'm in bed or sleeping around 9:30, 10 p.m., usually I'll need to get up twice around midnight and usually around 3 a.m. To empty my bag.
And did you have to learn how to sleep on your back because of it? Like, have you had to
Well,
change your sleep
a
habits?
little bit, but I still kind of sleep on my side. But as long as I have some kind of like a small pillow or blanket to kind of support under my ostomy, then it's okay. But I've had accidents too at night, so
Accidents frickin' happen.
yeah.
I mean, especially
They
at night.
sure do.
Yeah.
Going back to your teaching stuff, Elena and I read your article that you wrote about how sharing your illness with your employers greatly improved like your experience, your life, your connections, and just your overall career. Because a lot of people are like, oh, if I have a chronic illness or I'm going through this, maybe for people who are just now experiencing this, who just now, are having ostomy bags and stuff, like please share like what that was like, because in case they're afraid, like you've got a great story about it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So when I was hired for my teaching position, I was fresh out of surgery, like a month and a half, 2 months. So I had actually delayed applying, to any teaching jobs, but with my French specialty, I had calls coming from principals like, when are you going to apply? We need a French teacher. Like, we want to hire you. You need to start applying. So I said, okay, like maybe I'll just, try it out. So I applied. I got a job within a week. And so that was a question in my interview was, why did you wait so long to apply? So I kind of disclosed that information. I've had surgery, like I have Crohn's disease, but I've been able, it hasn't stopped me, and it's really motivated me to do the things that I do. So anyway, they gave me the job like on the spot, so I accepted it, and within a couple of months accepting my job, which was a full-time job, so I was doing kindergarten in the morning, and then after lunch I was teaching grade 3. So just even the balance between 2 grades and 2 curriculums and 2 sets of report cards, and it's just like the list was just like nonstop, and it was endless. So I was constantly at work, and when I was at home I was doing work, and I kept getting more sick and more sick. But I was like, oh, like I'm going to the bathroom 20 plus times a day. Oh, it's just because I've had surgery 4 months ago. It must be that. Like, it must be the reason why. And then I was having accidents. And then I was I was late to meetings. I was late, and then I was have to take sick days. And so I realized I was like, I need to disclose this information because first year teacher, I'm being evaluated. I was like, I can't, like, to me it was, I had to have this conversation. Um, so I sat down with my principal, and I told her, I was like, I'm having accidents, like this is what's going on. And within, I think, even a month of telling her that information, um, she found me on the kindergarten, like our like morning area rug. We were doing centers on the rug, but I couldn't stand. Like I was so weak. I was only like 95 pounds at that time, but I didn't know it. I was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. And she's like, I don't think you're fine. I think you need to go to the hospital. So I ended up calling my GI, and they said, get your butt here right away. The whole team's waiting for you. Like, you're going to be admitted. So tell someone to bring your bag. So I actually left, and just like telling my employers about it was just a huge like lift off my shoulders too. And it was just a whole other support system. So during my hospitalization, I was there for about 2 weeks, but I had my principal who came to visit me one night. She brought me her Bible. Like she like marked certain scripts for me. Like my whole staff came one afternoon, like on a PD
Mm.
day, like to visit. Like it was, and constantly just having those type of supporters just checking in with me, even at work, where I just didn't have to say I'm doing fine, but also not having my family close by. So my
Mm.
family's across the country, so it's just my husband and I. So even just having another support system was important.
And that is so key, is having that support system when it comes to dealing with chronic illness. I know, Nicole, it's a little different for you since you're an actress and you find yourself working with various directors and various different groups of people. It's not always one set of people, but for Krista and for myself, um, telling your employer, I know through the years, the stations that I've worked at, I've always let them know the issue that I deal with beforehand, just in case something were to come up. And you know what, it's the support and the constant checking in on you. It's amazing to have, and it makes you realize, like, people really do value people over the paycheck, and it's wonderful to see.
I wish more people like in my industry would be upfront about what they're going through, uh, because I've been getting mixed reviews. I'm finding that honesty is the best policy for me because I just feel better about being upfront with, like, yes, I had surgeries, yes, I have scars on my stomach. Um, but I've been told, like, just tell people that you had a family emergency and had to step away from the industry for a little bit, or don't let them know that you're sick. Like, it's this fear that people are afraid of hiring me because I'm sick. Well, like, yeah, but I deal with it every day. I'm not going to get you sick. It's just I have certain needs and certain things that I have to do to accommodate that. But I almost feel like because we go through so much, it almost makes us like more determined to just act normally and be high achievers because we almost have like a chip on our shoulder to catch up. Do you feel that way?
Yes. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know what? It's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that, Nicole,
Yeah.
because I kind of feel that, a lot of people might hide what they're dealing with, but if you're open about it and, you're still showing up and you're still doing your best, you're still being consistent, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that when people see that and know your background that you're going through, they're like, wow, this person, they're a strong person.
They're a boss.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you guys are proof. You're both the ladies are proof that, if you're honest and upfront with it, you can, if you're honest and upfront about your illness, you could reap the benefits of people being actually supportive and not as afraid as you think they might be. So,
For
yeah.
sure. You're married, Krista, you're married, and I am not married. I'm single. What was it like dealing with your illness? And were you with your husband now before you got your ostomy bag, or was it was it, before that?
Right before.
Right
A couple
before.
months before you got married, right?
Yeah. So we actually started dating, gosh, it's almost 10 years ago now. But really, when we first met, it wasn't a big issue. Like, it was something I told him on our first date. It was like, I have Crohn's disease. This is kind of what it means. Nothing to worry about. I take medication for it. I'm okay. Like, it was my second year university, party, drinking, all of that fun stuff. So I was like, it's fine. It won't ever, interfere with my life, because I was like, no, I won't be that person who'll need a bag. Like, I never ever thought that. But then over the years, like, things, started progressing, and I was trying different medication and wasn't having any success with it. And then it was only when we moved out to I'm from Nova Scotia, so from the Maritimes, and then we moved to Alberta, just my husband and I. So I don't know if it had to do with like a lot of stress. I was in teaching, like in schooling for teacher. Finding, just going to school, working part time, just trying to do all the things. And then I just really started going downhill, and that's when I had um, my second bowel resection. I never really healed. So it's just started to become like, I couldn't even walk up the stairs when I was really, really sick. So like my boyfriend at the time, would have to like help me up the stairs, would like undress me to put me in the shower. Like, even standing in the shower was difficult. Just all of these things. Like, he's had to clean my poop. He's had to, you know, all of, like, it's been on him. It's been in the bed, right? It was a huge part of our relationship, and it really just showed us like how strong our relationship was, because it's not everyone that would kind of stick around for those types of days. And I wasn't always the most pleasant person to be around when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, right? You're not really, your mental state's not really, I wasn't myself. I was angry. I was bitter. I
Right.
hated the world. I took out my anger on everybody that was the closest to me, because they were the ones who made me feel the most comfortable, right? But since, the ostomy surgery, like, he's been there through it all, seen it all. So it was like, really, I knew when I was gonna have the surgery, that it wasn't gonna change things, because I felt like we had already gone through so much prior to the ostomy, that it was gonna kind of be like almost a relief that we could kind of just do things again together, go hiking, go on road trips, and so yeah.
Yeah, go to the beach.
Yes.
I love your bathing suit pictures where you're like,
Yes.
yes, you can wear this with an ostomy bag. You can wear this with an ostomy bag, and you have the cutest suits.
Thank you.
You do. Yeah. And so you've kind of used this, used your situation. You've turned your test into your testimony, people could say, I guess. Like, you're open about it. You show it off. You embrace it, and you educate people with it. Just kind of speak about that.
Yeah, well, I started my Instagram before my ostomy and all of that. It was more of an outlet for myself, just to like educate others, because I just felt like I was just repeating myself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And no one was really
Yeah.
understanding. I was like, okay, like, this is what I'm going through, but they didn't see how it was affecting day to day activities, or just day to day life. So that's kind of where it started. But then once I had my ostomy surgery, I was like, well, I have to share this too. Like, I'm already sharing, I'll also keep sharing. And then it kind of just became an outlet for myself to find people like myself. So and then I found a whole new community of friends online, and then some online in Calgary and Alberta, and some that I've actually been able to, we're friends in real life now. And one of them is like my best girlfriend out here. And, so it's allowed me to connect with so many different people like me, and different opportunities to share my story.
It's so funny. Well, we didn't meet through Instagram, but Elena and I met at a wedding, and we live across the country from each other. So right now we're coming to you from Ohio and from California. So yeah, we have our like support group too, and isn't it so amazing like what technology can do to bring you together?
Yeah. And
Like,
there's so much, sometimes there's so much negative on social media, but I found that this is such a positive outlet because, I've it, some of these people have helped me in, some of my darkest and hardest days. Or I've looked up to some people who've already had their ostomy when I was, about to get mine. So it's been,
shout them out.
yeah.
Shout
Raina,
them out. Who are they?
Raina versus food, but she's not Raina versus food now. I think she's just Raina, I think. Yeah.
That's
We'll
awesome.
we'll post her when we do like our little
All
bio.
right.
But yeah,
Oh,
I've
that's
got
awesome.
my favorite people on Instagram too that I've connected through. Even just when we started our Girls with Guts podcast Instagram, the people that I've connected with already on that have been so awesome. I mean, that's how I found you. I was just scrolling through people, and I love your page because you don't hide that you're like having a bad day. You'll post on your story like, "Hey, I'm having a bad day today, but we're going to get through it." Or like, wearing this super cozy outfit today because I'm having a bad day, but this is making it feel a little better. Like, oh, we could all relate to that, can we not?
Yes, and
And yeah.
that's something with social media that I think more people need to see,
I
especially with
agree.
how it is these days. People put all the glammed up shots, the best, the highlight reel, but I think what really people truly want to see are the downs, the lows, the periods that you feel awful, that you can't
Yeah,
pick yourself back up, and sharing that. I think that's really what people find relatable.
totally.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for you, Krista. You're teaching, your kindergartners from such a young age that it's okay to be different and that we should be accepting of others and their differences
Yeah.
and learn about people with their differences. And you mentioned in the article that you had some students come forward and share their disabilities with you. Do you have any like special stories from that?
Well, not, I mean, I do have even other students, had, even just like sensory type issues. So even just being able to relate with those type of students, or I know a student that was in the school, she wasn't my student, but, with like diabetes and, being able to relate, not on the same terms, but kind of, that it's okay that you're
Yeah.
different. And even in kindergarten, I start my year with a big project. It's all about me. We talk about what makes us unique, and it's okay that, that we're different. And that's what makes everyone so special is our differences. And I think, just, constantly just reminding them. And I actually one year showed my students a picture of myself when I was younger with my feeding tube. So, I was like, I look different. I ate a different way. You know, we still need to treat those, our friends that might look different, the same way, right? So,
Right.
Yes. How are you with your iron levels? Because I know a lot of times with, intestinal disorders, it's hard to absorb iron in your intestines, especially because I know Nicole and I have battled anemia. Nicole and I went hiking.
oh gosh.
We went hiking in literal 100-degree heat. It might have been more. I don't remember exactly. And like in peak
Like an incline, full incline
peak
the whole way.
anemic of both of us. And I gotta say, she like sprinted up this mountain. And, like she's like trucking it up the mountain. And then afterwards we're both like, what are we doing here right now? But
You're both like, we should not have done that.
lesson learned. Don't go hiking in 100-degree weather when you're severely anemic and your
bad
ferritin
idea.
is like single digits.
Yep.
But yeah, like what is that for you? Are you able to keep your iron levels up? Do you do anything special for that?
That's a good question. Actually, before I was diagnosed with Crohn's, when I was 9 years old, my family doctor had told me that I was anemic, that I just had low iron. So then we kind of got a second opinion. So I've kind of struggled with low iron kind of throughout my whole diagnosis. But I do regularly get iron infusions to keep my levels stable. It's almost been, I think, almost a year now that I've had any kind of infusions, but they're pretty stable right now, but just to kind of top them up here and there whenever I need them.
So I actually didn't know I was anemic either, but I had no clue. I hadn't gotten my blood levels checked in I don't know how long. But I was feeling tired. I was and I actually was losing a ton of hair too. And eventually I told my doctor, I was like, this hair stuff needs to stop because it's getting really disheartening. So he checked my levels and my ferritin was like 5. And we
Yep.
discovered I was anemic. So he did the infusions too.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that is key. That is so key. I've been able to keep my numbers up since then. I did 3 of them.
Like one after another?
Yeah, so I did 200 milligrams. I think it was Venifer. Venifer might be the medication. 200 milligrams 1 week, and then I did it again another week, and then I did it again another week, and that was back in October, I want to say. And since then, my numbers have been fine. But I do an oral every other day.
Okay, so you do the oral as well.
I do it every other day, yeah, because my doctor told me that studies have shown that every other day can actually help your absorption better than if you were to take it every day. So I do 65 milligrams every other day.
Maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah, I would do it.
Because I've been weaning off a little bit because I was doing it so hardcore. I only took the oral supplements, and when my primary care doctor saw my numbers from after my surgery and then like where I was when I came to see her, she got really upset because she was like, "You should have had an infusion. You were really low." But my doctor just gave me like CVS brand iron pills and was like, "These will make you feel better." But I have a friend with Hashimoto's, and she sent me what she uses, and it's like a veggie cap supplement that has iron in it that increases the absorption because it's got like the minerals that help absorption. Like I think vitamin C and vitamin D help iron absorb. So yeah, for all of our anemic ladies out there, like we get it.
Yes,
Yes.
vitamin C. You should always take iron with vitamin C because it does help with that absorption. Never take it with zinc either. If you take zinc supplements, at least wait. I think it's like 2 to 3 hours between the iron because they can contradict each other.
Interesting.
So I've learned that. Yeah. So watch that. In case you haven't. But yeah, I don't know. I think, but the interesting thing about the iron is that I feel like the days that I take it versus the days that I don't, because it's hard on the stomach. Like I will feel myself feeling a little like, ugh,
Queasy.
like, just kind of like blah, like in the stomach. The days that I do take it, but I'm not losing hair, so.
That was a big
Yeah.
battle for us. Did you have that problem too when you were having your surgeries?
Well, even before, like it was before because I was so sick. I lost a lot of my hair actually, and it's taken years to grow back. So, but we're there. So,
Oh, looks good, girl.
thank you.
Looks good now.
Your hair looks amazing. I was thinking like, man, her hair is so good. Like I know for me, like mine is very fresh
Yeah.
because my surgery in May. So I started to experience it about 3 months afterwards. And then plus the iron stuff, because of the telogen effluvium. And so I've been doing PRP actually, injections in my scalp, platelet-rich plasma. And I feel like the front
Looks
is
good.
finally, I'm getting a lot of baby hairs growing in. But the back still feels very I could definitely get some more. I don't know how the back.
I just chopped all my hair off. I was like, forget this. I just cut all my hair off and didn't wear it in ponytails.
I cut a decent amount.
You did.
I cut a decent amount, but I didn't cut too much because of my job. Like my hair was probably down to like here before, and I cut it up to here. But I will say I've been taking this collagen supplement that has been helping at least grow in length. So now we just gotta get the regrowth back
Top
in.
is the head.
But, yeah.
So I have one last question. Do you have any more questions, Elena? Okay, so
No.
just to wrap everything up before we let you go, I wanted to know I have a friend who just went through the surgery to get to have her stoma and her ileostomy bag. If you could give her or anyone else that's recently experiencing the surgery, if you had any advice for them, any tips or just encouragement.
Well, to any ostomates, who are going to have surgery or who have just had surgery, know that there's going to be some good days and bad days. But hopefully, once everything's healed, that you'll be able to get back to, your quality of life and do the things that you enjoy doing where maybe you weren't able to do before. So yeah, really, there's going to be good days and bad days, but take advantage of those good days and connect with other ostomates because I think community has been a big part of my healing journey and accepting my stoma. And it's okay if you don't love it every day. You don't have to love it every day. Yeah.
That's great. Great advice.
That's awesome. Anybody who wants to, reach out to you and maybe say thank you or say, I have an ostomy bag as well, and how can they reach you?
So you guys can reach me at on my Instagram page at my.gut.instinct.
Awesome. Awesome. And thank you so much to everybody who has come out and listened to this podcast today. Krista is amazing. She's such a bright light. Check out her Instagram page. Check out our Instagram page at Girls with Guts Podcast. And you can also find me at Elena Martella. And Nicole?
And me at the Nikki D.
All right. And also, we love to hear from you. If you want to give any feedback on this episode, if you have an ostomy bag, want to share your experiences as well, don't forget to let us know about that.
Yes, leave a comment. Make sure that you like this episode. If you're following us on YouTube, make sure you like this episode. And we hope to see you next time.
Stay bold.
Stay gutsy.
And namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.